Hello, BookTube. Sorry for the lack of videos yesterday. I had a fairly busy day, but not prohibitively. I just kept thinking later on when things settle down a bit, I'll make a video, and then I did. I did make a video, and it was kind of blah. I finished recording and I played it back, and it just sat there. I wasn't interested myself, so I didn't think anyone else would be interested. And then when I was playing it back and realizing, this is kind of dead on arrival, I was thinking, well, make another video, and then I realized I'd waited too long and was out of time, so I just didn't do anything. but I have a Friday reads for today. This is what I'll be reading this weekend, and I wanted to share them with you, especially since I think there are a few of them that you haven't seen on this channel already. The first one is by the great Lisa Kleypas. This is... you make it out there? Hello, Stranger. This is book number 4 in her Ravenels series. I think the book comes out at the end of February. And it's about England's first female doctor, her fictional version of England's first female doctor. And Ravenel, the Ravenels are a family that she's been following for this series of romances. They're absolutely delightful. She's incredible. And the man, the heroine, is the doctor. Who can take care of herself and who wants to succeed. And the hero is a Ravenel bastard. He's not one of the official brothers, but these two have been in and out of Ravenel books since the beginning, and fans have wanted something to happen between them, and this is the book where it does. So I'm going to gobble it up, and it's going to take an hour to read, and it's going to be a very delightful hour. And then the next one is a reread. This is the beautiful trade paperback reprint of Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman with the deckled edges and the French flaps and all, and a slightly different cover illustration from the hardcover. And I am not Gaiman's biggest fan, I admit that, but I thought when I read the description of Norse mythology, which is just him retelling Norse mythology, he's basically telling the Elder Edda and the Prose Edda in a novel, and I myself have done that. One of the novels that I've written was called Edda, and was the adventures of Hogni the Troll Smasher, a big human, who manages to work his way into every one of the major stories in the Elder Edda and the Prose Edda, and who inadvertently kicks off Ragnarok. So it was a very fun novel to write, and I've read other retellings of Norse mythology, most especially Myths of the Norsemen by the great Roger Lancelin Green, one of my favorite books. So I was well disposed to the project, no matter what I think of the author. And then I read the book, I read the advanced copy, and then I read the finished copy, and it just didn't do anything for me. And then I got the trade paperback, and it's been bothering me the whole time that the hardcover, my original reading didn't do anything for me when all the elements seem to be in place. And I might not be a fan of Neil Gaiman, but he's not an incompetent writer. So I'm going to try it again. This is exactly what I always talk about on this channel, where I'm so happy to have multiple bites at the apple. Where I'm going to try this again and see. I'm going to read it this weekend and see. Then another reread that I think I will probably sink this afternoon into it, is the U.S. paperback release of The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne, with a new cover, thank God, since the American hardcover was childishly awful, had arrows and whatnot stuck all over it. The UK hardcover was the vague outline, drawn single line outline of a man standing on a white background, with the line that draws the man sort of rolling off to form a horizon. I kind of like that a little better, although it's still lazy. It still doesn't convey anything of the book, and neither does this. This is if you've read the book, then your first question is going to be, well, who's that other boy? One of the characteristics that sticks out for the main character in this book for a lot of the book is his loneliness. This seems more like a variation on At Swim, Two Boys, an absolutely great gay novel that came out, I think, 20 years ago. that is about two boys. But one way or another, this is the U.S. Trade paperback release, which I think comes out later in the month or early in March. Has a very sexy blurb from the Christian Science Monitor, and I loved the book, so I happily reread it, especially since you're gonna think I'm shallow, BookTube, but especially since I just couldn't stand looking at the hardcover, so I got rid of it. I got rid of my copy of the book because I couldn't stand the cover. So now I have it again, and this I can live with. I don't like it, but I can live with it. Then the next one is it's a book that doesn't come out until the summer. It doesn't come out until June, and it's this. It's Edmund White's book, The Unpunished Vice. It's a collection of his literary essays and literary musings and reminiscences and whatnot. A very bookish. Well, the subtitle is A Life of Reading. It's a very bookish little book of his. Just the sort of thing that I think is his strong point. I know that seems strange considering that he's famous for novels and for memoirs, but I think his literary essays are wonderful. Name-droppy, but wonderful. And this doesn't come out until the summer, but I'm eager to read it. So, and once I've read it, I am then going to try really hard to do two things. One, shop it around to have somebody pay me to review it, and two, find somebody to review it for Open Letters Review, the literary journal where I'm an editor, and where a bunch of other booktubers are editors. And I know exactly who I want to review this, but I have no idea if he would even be interested, even in hearing about it, much less trying. So I will try. I have time. I will try. The next one's also from June. It's also a release that's not out yet. This is the Thief of Happy Endings. By Kristen Chandler, who I don't know if this is her debut, but everything about it that I read, it's a YA novel. Everything about it that I read, I kind of like the sound of. It's Cassidy Carrigan wasn't planning to get on a horse ever again. She's deathly terrified of horses. She wasn't planning on being shipped off to a ranch in Wyoming for the summer while her parents' perfect marriage was coming apart. She wasn't planning on falling for a cowboy with a broken nose and an even more broken soul, but most surprisingly of all, Cassidy wasn't planning on having the time of her life. And so in other words, it's a YA novel about a girl from the big city who goes out to Wyoming, falls in love with a cowboy, and comes to love horses. So, in other words, the author, Kristen Chandler, seems on the surface to be just daring someone like me to say, oh my God, is there any low-hanging fruit in the YA world that you aren't picking? And the chutzpah of that makes me want to read this thing. Plus, when I saw an advanced copy of it and I dipped into it a bit, and I like the spirit. I like the spirit that it's written with. So I'll be reading this and seeing what I make of it. Then the next one I know I'm going to like. It's this. It's The Policeman's Daughter. By Trudy Van Boyce, who was for years a cop, and brings her experience of that world to these books. The book before this was Blame It on the Blues, or Out of the Blues, and then the first book was Old Bones. Then they're urban police procedural thrillers starring her main character, who's a woman on the force. And when I was originally planning on reading the first one, Old Bones, I was trepidatious because the author's background as a cop had been touted as a selling point for the book, and I have many times seen ex-cops or ex-DAs or whatever bring their experience to a book thinking that's it, that's all they need to do, and it doesn't work that way. The experience is nice, but of course the number one requirement for writing gripping thrillers is the writing, not your experience. You can learn the stuff you need to know. And I was blown away by Old Bones. And then I read the second book and was blown away again. And I know that I'm going to like this. Her writing style is just lightning. Just lightning. If you like really taut, involving police procedurals, thrillers, action-oriented, but with lots and lots of good character, if you like that, but you often, like me, try the latest example and find it boring or dumb or pandering, then you should find this series, because if you haven't found this series already, you're going to love it. And this, as far as I've been able to tell, this book is a bit of a gamble in that it tells the story of the main character's beginnings with the police department, the beginning of her career. And usually authors wait, right? Or am I imagining that? Usually they wait longer than 2 books before they go back in time. And usually they wait until they're a little bit more sure that their character is established enough in their reader's affection so that they will want to go back in time and read about the beginning of that character. Maybe she's right. Maybe I certainly am. So maybe she already knows. Maybe she knows better than anybody that loyalty is there. I just love this series, so I can't wait to read it. And then there's the big one. there's the what will be the reading highlight of my weekend, unless, God forbid, it's bad. And it's this. It's an enormous thing. Fatal Discord. Look at the size of that. Oh my. It's by Michael Massing, and the subtitle is Erasmus Luther and the Fight for the Western Mind. Which might as well say the Fight for the Western Soul. Because this is a dual biography of Erasmus and Luther, and a dual account of their approaches to a church rife with corruption. Erasmus's approach being dialogue, engagement, and reform from within, and Luther's approach being to destroy, just tear it all down, and build up something in his own image. And there hasn't been a book like this in a long time, and there hasn't been. This is from Harper, which is a major U.S. publisher. To see the name Erasmus on the cover of a gigantic book from Harper, I plotzed just a little, I will admit. This is going to be me visiting old friends, and it's going to be the centerpiece of my weekend's reading. I don't know what I'll make of it, but I will report back. Actually, we start and finish with the 2 books that I'm most excited for, which is I don't know what anybody can possibly make of a reader who thinks this way, but nevertheless, I do. So that is my Friday reads I wanted to share with you. We've got Fatal Discord, The Policeman's Daughter, A Thief of Happy Endings, a YA novel, The Unpunished Vice by Edmund White, about his life in reading, The Heart's Invisible Furies in its U.S. paperback, Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. I'm going to give it a 3rd try. 3rd time's a charm. And Hello Stranger, the latest in Lisa Kleypas's Ravenel series. That is my my Friday reading, or my weekend reading. And as usual with this type of video, I'd love to hear what you're reading this weekend. So I will wrap it up here, and I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.